Hey guys, this is Fight Mike here, back with another video. We're just going to be going through the newest UFC news announcements and any fight rumors that have transpired over the last week or so. Let's jump in with the first matchup. We've got Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. For a short notice matchup, I can't be unhappy with this, but I was really excited for the Royval versus Meerschaert fight. I'm sure everyone was. I kind of look at this, obviously this is a off comparison to make, but I look at Meerschaert sort of like a more fine-tuned and evolved version of Joshua Van, like an older version. I think that he's probably cleaner at this point in his career in the striking than a guy like Joshua Van, and I think he's probably got slightly better takedown defense and slightly better on the ground than Joshua Van. So I feel like we're just getting sort of a fight where we're going to be really excited. It's going to be really fun to watch. But I think that Brandon Royval is sort of going to run away with it and have a lot less of a competitive performance than Meerschaert would have had against Brandon Royval. I know Joshua Van's on a run right now. I think he's got 4 wins in a row or 5 wins in a row maybe. And he's looking really good every opponent out. But this is going from a Bruno Silva to Brandon Royval. Bruno Silva sitting at like number 12 in the rankings, and Brandon Royval, who's number 1. And the thing is that this isn't just like a normal number 1 contender. This is sort of like the Robert Whittaker, Max Holloway type number 1 contender, where he's pushing back all of these guys, not getting his title shot because the champion has his number. Like Israel Adesanya had Robert Whittaker's number. And like Volk had Max's number. This is sort of like Pantoja's got Royval's number, and Royval's sent out there to just completely demolish all of the up-and-coming contenders before they reach the champion. And I think that this is going to look much like that. I also don't like how quickly Joshua Van's career has played out. I would have preferred he got a little bit more time fighting like a number 8 ranked Ashu Almabayev or Alex Perez, one of these sorts of guys, whereas he's getting jumped up from someone who's like basically an unranked flyweight level to literally, if Pantoja wasn't here, Royval is the champion. So he's getting put up against like the generational number 1 contender, which I don't like. One more fight in between is all we would have needed, but I'm not unhappy. If it, like, on short notice, we would have got either this fight scrapped completely, and then we've got 8 fights on the UFC 317 card, which is revolting, or we get Joshua Van to at least have a competitive matchup with Brandon Royval. But I still think it's going to be like a 30-27 decision where Royval is just able to outpoint Van very slightly throughout all the rounds. Moving on to the next matchup, we've got Jared Cananeer versus Michael Venom Page. This is really fun. I love this matchup. I'm happy that he's in middleweight, just because I don't see any of these welterweights taking a fight with MVP, just because he makes people look stupid when they lose to him. And even when they win, like you watch the Ian Gary fight, Ian Gary's stock did not get raised by that fight. And I think people are looking at that fight being like, I have a chance of beating MVP, but he has a chance of just making both of us look terrible. So a lot of the welterweights aren't inclined to do that. Whereas I think these middleweights would see MVP, see that he's a long, lanky guy, even though he's really fast, but they would know, hey, if we get this guy down, he is not getting up. We can stick him to the floor. We can keep him in positions. We can sub him. We can throw him around a little bit. I reckon they know that his power isn't going to translate the same to middleweight as it was in welterweight. So I think that this is a really difficult style matchup for MVP, but it's a fun fight to make. You look at this fight and you say, hey, this is a 50-50 almost. Like, we can see Jared Cananeer not having the same pip in his step that he used to and getting finished by a guy like MVP, who's so fast on the feet, leaps in with his flying knees and flying right hands. Like, it's a tougher matchup than people would... it's actually not than people would say. It's a tough matchup. Anyone can admit that this is going to be hard for both of these fighters. And we love those sorts of matchups, those 50-50 coin flip decisions. So it's a big ranked matchup. I think if you throw this on the UFC 319 card, like the main card, it will look really good on there. Everyone's going to be hyped for it. And we can get some movement in this middleweight division, because if a guy like Jared Cananeer loses this fight, if he loses this fight, someone like MVP is 100% getting a shot into the top 3. So... whereas if Jared Cananeer wins this fight, he's not getting a shot to the top 3. Moving on, though, to the next fight. We have Brian Battle versus Nazoltan Rusev. Sorry, I've got the hiccups right now. This one's in the middleweight division. I don't mind that it's in the middleweight division just because a guy like Rusev has fought in welterweight before, so it's not like we're getting a straight middleweight matchup, but I think that they're either setting Battle up to fight just in the middleweight division after his bad weight miss. I think he missed weight by 5 pounds in his last fight out against Randy Brown. So I think that they're punishing him and putting him up against a middleweight. So I don't mind this. I think either way, he'll get it. If he gets a win, he'll get a shot at either the welterweight or middleweight rankings. It depends on what his performance looks like. If he can muscle around a guy as big as Nursultan Rusev, I think that that's a good sign for him in the middleweight rankings. And I just think that this is a fun fight. I wouldn't have liked Brian Battle to get a ranked opponent before this, so I'm happy that he's getting this fight against a guy like Rusev. And whoever wins this is getting a ranked fight, so I don't mind this matchup being made. Where does it set? Yeah, this one's set for the 319 card. I hope this isn't on the main card. I hope that this is like a prelim headliner or like a third fight up on the prelim. Sorry, but it's an overall nice matchup. I think we will all enjoy it, and we won't be able to see Brian Battle like try and clinch him to a win like he did against Randy Brown. So I think that we're going to get a fun striking matchup between the two. Moving on to the next fight, we've got Gerald Meerschaert versus Mikuel Oleksiejczuk. This is really fun. I think both of these guys, even though Mikel's coming off a win, I think both of these guys are probably close to getting cut, so they need this win. Obviously, GM3's lost his last two out. It was against Reina de Ritter and Brad Tavares. Obviously, two difficult stylistic matchups for him, but I think they're still looking at this guy saying, we pay him a little bit too much, we'll cut him if he loses again. So this is a sink or swim type matchup for GM3. And this is also a tough fight for Mikuel. Mikel's shown some inefficiency in his grappling in the past. We've seen him get finished by a guy like Kevin Holland. Even though he's a good submission artist, we saw he didn't have good reactions when the submission was getting locked up. That one was an arm bar, or I want to say like an inverted head and I'm throwing out every submission bar what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was an arm bar that Mikuel just didn't, if you remember the fight, he just didn't react quick enough to that armbar. He sort of just stayed upright with one arm in and just sort of not let it happen, but he allowed it. And he cannot do that against a guy like GM3, who's got slick submissions. He's got like 7 different types of submissions in the UFC. So, and we've seen him submit like some top level opponents. I would almost say that Mikuel Oleksiejczuk is a similar opponent to a guy like Edmund Shabazian. So this will be a similar matchup, I think. Edmund was able to light up GM3 on the feet. I think Mikuel will do the same. But if GM3 can start landing those takedowns, he's going to get the win via submission. So this is a real striker versus grappler matchup. We don't see these as often anymore. So I think it'll be really fun. It'll feel like the early UFC days, like a UFC 100, when you've got literal strikers versus literal grapplers fighting against each other. This will be a really fun fight. I don't know what fight card they've thrown this on, but I'm sure it'll be an enjoyable fight. Moving on to the next one, we've got Jessica Andrade versus Lupita Godinz. This is a fun fight. I don't have any problems with this matchup, apart from the fact that it's placed for August 16, which is, again, that UFC 319 card. I understand that that card needs fights, but you know what else needs fights? The Canada Fight Night that we've got at at the end of the year. I could so see us getting like a Fiorot versus Blanchfield 2 in the main event for that. So I would have preferred them to put some Canadian fighters on that, like a Lupita Godinz. Like, she's literally from Vancouver, I'm pretty sure, which is where that fight card is. Like, it makes no sense to throw this on a Chicago card, which neither of these girls have an alliance with Chicago, so no one in the crowd is going to care that this fight's on. Whereas you could get a full crowd pushing behind Lupita Godinz in Vancouver just a little bit later in the year. But we get what we get. We can't be annoyed about it. I'm really happy that Jessica Andrade is staying in the strawweight division, not moving back up to flyweight. She's sort of like Kevin Holland, where she goes up to flyweight, gets absolutely smushed on by any grappler and submitted. But then in her proper weight class, the strawweight division, she still carries that power. She's not slow for the strawweight division. It's literally the same thing as the Kevin Holland situation. She looks way sharper. Her power carries into the strawweights, and she usually looks much better there. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm looking forward to seeing Andrade hopefully just brutally knock out Lupita Godinz. I don't mind Lupita, but it's just more fun to see Jessica smoke these women. So this will be a fun matchup. Let me know what you think of these fights below. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll catch you in the next video. Sorry, you can see my mouse is I'm stuck on the bloody screen. All right, I'll catch you all later. Peace.